So I wanted to do a really brief rundown of the recent presentation that I gave in combination with Enterprise for Good on why being an ethical company is really good for business, and what that means, and how to use that to your advantage, and how you can grow your ethical business. So we started with a look at what is meant by triple bottom line. So that's an expression which is being used more and more when it comes to businesses being ethical and sustainable and looking at regeneration. So essentially it comes down to three things. So it's looking at the bottom line when it comes to profit and the positive impact that that can have in the area, but also globally as well. Social impact, and again the positive impact that can have. And once again, there is a local but also a global aspect to that. For myself personally, I think that fair trade is really important. I think using supply chain that's really transparent in terms of how it treats its people is an essential part of your triple bottom line. But also there's considering your own workforce and a wider community, whether there's some kind of involvement that your business can have in that wider community in some way as doing something to be giving back. So a lot of businesses will look at doing things like engaging in charity events. At the presentation that we did, there was a lady who ran the events program for a local hospice, Hayden's Hospice, and some businesses will go there for their kind of day out, their charity day, and they'd actually go to the centre and they do some gardening and do some litter picking and just generally do things to help out. So that's another way in which businesses will meet their social impact kind of bottom line. And then there's the environmental impact, so the third P, the planet. For me personally, this is the area that I'm really motivated to see businesses taking more of a lead on, being proactive about. So rather than waiting until legislation is made, which insists that businesses have certain waste management systems in practice like the construction industry does. The construction industry's become very much part of the circular economy, which means that for the certain huge amounts of demolition which is done within construction, I think it's something like excuse me because this figure is slightly plucked out of the air, but I think it's around 80% of the material that comes out of the construction industry goes back into it again in some way. So that's kind of a government legislation that they have to do. But I'm really motivated to see businesses who are deciding proactively to do something which has a positive environmental impact. So whether that's within their the core business model, if they're a business which purely makes things out of recycled materials, or is it's like a solar panel company or something like that. So that may be the core business, but it might not be the core business. It might be a firm of solicitors, and sisters might cycle to work, for instance. So it's just being aware as a business the importance of your environmental impact and the difference that you can make with that as a business. So that's kind of what's meant by a triple bottom line. What I really wanted to have a look at is how the businesses that are doing good in those areas end up doing better. So it starts with the fact that there's a growing trend. I don't think it's a trend. I think it's something that's going to last. There's a growing number of ethical consumers. So these are people for whom they've woken up to the fact that every pound that they spend, or every dollar they spend, or whatever currency they're spending, depending on where they're living or where they're buying, is a vote for the kind of world that they want to see. So they are choosing to only buy things which, to only spend their money in where they can be happy that the company that they will be doing business with is doing things responsibly, is being an ethical business. It's trading fairly with its suppliers. It's looking after its staff and its community. It's not screwing people down for better prices, or shipping things across to say India or China for cheaper labour, and which means that then the local community will suffer. That kind of thing. It's just being aware that there's this growing number of people that are very conscious of where they spend their money. But for me personally, that's definitely something that has been making a massive impact on the way that I shop. So mainly for goods, but to a degree for services as well, because if I see a company that I'm looking to take a service from and I can see that they really care, then I'm much more likely to buy from them than one that's not showing that they care. So So if you're a business and you are really taking into consideration a triple bottom line, you're looking at ethics and sustainability and the environment and those kinds of things, then making it clear can be really helpful, because this growing band of ethical consumers will be more interested in buying from you than in your less ethical competitors. Another benefit from being a good company is that you've got the corporate social responsibility consideration. So if you are the type of organisation that is likely to be tendering for opportunities within bigger companies or within local authorities, often they will have some kind of procurement process which may require you to have some kind of social and environmental policy in place. So if this is already something that you're doing in your business, then it's a fantastic opportunity to really show how working with you is going to make a big difference. My co-presenter during the seminar mentioned about an IT company in the City of London that CSR is the biggest part of the tender process for them, because actually all the suppliers can do more or less the same thing. So what they really care about is who's giving the most back. So corporate social responsibility is, for you as a company, is important to be able to show other companies you're doing it. But also, it may be a consideration that for other organisations that have corporate social responsibility aims that they're looking to meet, actually doing business with your company can be a step in the right direction for them as well. So that's something to bear in mind. So building loyalty and feel-good factor for your customers is one of the other benefits of being a good business. So for me personally, I've had to do quite a lot of research to find the companies that I am happy to buy from. And what happens is when I buy from them, I feel good because I know I'm making a good decision. And I don't want to do that research every single time I want to buy something. So I'm kind of getting like a core few companies that I'm prepared to buy from. So I just keep going back to them time and time again. So they are building that loyalty from me because they know, because I know that they are taking care of the things that are important to me. My eyes are open for other businesses which are similar. But in these, dependent on the industry, I'm starting to work out which are the companies that I want to do business with on an ongoing basis. And so I think that's a really important thing to remember, especially if you are in an industry which, there's a high competition and typically like fairly poor loyalty. Then having, being clearer about the ethics of your company and what you're doing to give back creates more of that feel-good factor for your customers, and they're more likely to want to do business with you time and time again. But in addition to that, there's also the team loyalty and the morale within your staff. So personally, I've worked for a company where there were, many years ago, we're talking about now, fortunately, but there was nothing really in place when it came to ethics. We were dealing with suppliers from China who, it was never expressly said, but I just got a bit of a sense that the people weren't treated that well. They didn't really get a holiday. They were expected to work very long hours so they could communicate with us while we were at work and things like that. And it just meant that I lost the love of working for the company when I realised that was what was going on. Whereas there are other organisations that I'm aware of who are doing really great stuff, and it just means that the companies are more engaged because they believe in this company. They know what they stand for, and what they stand for rings a bell with them, so they want to stay and they want to continue to work for them long term. And for organisations who have struggled with this, staff retention can be a real thing. So if bringing in more positive impact stuff into your business is going to be a way to keep your team happy, then it's got to be worth a look at if you're not already looking at it. So another way that doing good is it's just an opportunity to differentiate from your competitors. I think I touched on this in the last slide, really, but how if you're in an industry where it's difficult to differentiate, for instance, if you're selling insurance, so you've got your insurance broker and you're providing maybe the same policy as somebody as another insurance broker could provide, how are you going to stand out? So having some kind of clear ethics for your business and showing how how well you're doing in terms of looking after other people, looking after the planet, looking after your staff, looking after your customers can be a really good way of doing things. But also people understanding how they are giving back to the local economy. Let's not forget the profit part of the triple bottom line. That's one of the things that we see more and more is this idea of buying locally. Businesses who establish themselves as family run, independent, local, they seem to differentiate themselves very well from the slightly more faceless, shall we say, more corporate companies. So it's kind of something that I've been hinting at throughout. So if you're including your goodness into your marketing, then it just makes it easier for people like me who do only want to buy from companies that are doing good to choose your company. If you're doing great stuff, but it's not in your marketing, you're missing an opportunity, and not just missing an opportunity to get business, you're missing an opportunity to make this the norm. If you're doing it, I expect that that's because you really believe in it and you believe it's important, but maybe feel a bit shy about letting people know that this is a big part of what your company is about. I would say, quite the opposite to that. I think that small businesses have a fantastic opportunity to start to influence and change buyer behaviour and to bring it into the forefront of people's minds that actually this is important and this is the way that all businesses should be working. It's not just about getting the product or service across the cheapest. It's about actually what's the bigger picture here. What do we want long term? So if there is something that you're doing, it doesn't have to be headline number one in your marketing, but if it's just in there somewhere, whether it's in the About Us page on your website, whether it's a footer of emails, whether there's just some kind of hint to it within the way that your text is written. If you think that you are doing good and it's already in your marketing, maybe just get a second opinion on that. Just ask somebody else to have a look and say, did they know that, could they see this about you? Did they know? Until I recently heard a radio advertisement for Waitrose doing the Marine Conservation Society cleanup, in kind of sponsoring that. I didn't know how much good stuff Waitrose were doing, so that was really wonderful to hear about that, and actually went and got involved in that as well. But there are many large organisations who are doing these things but are kind of keeping fairly quiet about it. I think if it's brought to the forefront, not only does it mean that you're more likely to get customers, but too, it's kind of like it's creating a trend and it's continuing that push in what to me feels like the right direction. So here are just some quick tips about how to market your good enterprise on a budget. So if you're a startup or if you're a small family-run business, then it's quite possible that you don't have unlimited marketing funds to just spend here, there, and everywhere, and to grow your customers, to grow your customer base. So we're just going to look for a few little things that you can do which can make a difference. So I'm going to start by suggesting that you use and grow the network that you already have. Now, what happens more often than not is that we're so busy looking to make new customers that we forget about the people that we already know. So those might be friends, family members, they could be friends of friends. It might be people that you've met through business networking, but maybe haven't spoken to for some time. Maybe it's people you worked with in the past. But there are loads of fantastic tools out there that we can use to keep in touch with people. LinkedIn, Facebook, all of these platforms are fantastic, but you can also use a CRM system, so customer relationship management system, where you can store all of your contacts and you can categorize them by how you know them. And then it can kind of prompt you just to keep in touch with people, just to drop people a line and to remind them of your existence. And there's a saying that I'm sure you'll have heard before, but it's people do business with people, so we buy from people that we know, like, and trust. So the more that you're keeping in touch with the people you already know, the better your chances are of doing business. It's so much easier than trying to find new people who've never heard of you before. So always make sure that you're making use of that network, and that can pretty much be done for free. I mean, I say free, obviously it takes your time. But if you don't have very much time, you can always employ the uses of a virtual assistant to do it for you. So you just pay that person by the hour and you just, give them some directions of what it is you want them to do and what you're looking for them to achieve. Another important thing is to know your market. So to be really clear on who it is you are actually trying to do business with. What is it about these people? How can you categorize this group? What's their demographic? And where will you find them? For example, let's say you wanted to use your Facebook page to promote something that you're doing. Now, if you're clear that your market is, let's say, women aged between 30 and 50 who have a Facebook page themselves, then that actually makes it much easier for you to do some targeted advertising, because one, it affects the way that you describe what it is that's on offer, and you've always got to think what's in it for your customer, what's in it for me. Like, that's how we all think when we're buying, so make sure that comes across. But also, you can do something like a targeted ad where you can really fine tune who it is that you're looking to target. You can include things like what they're likely to be interested in, and it just means that you're spending your marketing money pointing more directly at those that you want to do business with, rather than just kind of taking a scattergun approach and hoping that something sticks. So, there's always a degree of it being a bit of a numbers game, but the clearer you are on who it is you're marketing to, the more fine-tuned your marketing will be able to be. So the next point about having clear and compelling messages, I don't think this could be any more important. I said before, like, what's in it for me? So it's always thinking, when you're looking at your marketing, you're looking at it from your perspective. Okay, is the way that you understand your marketing going to be the same thing that your target customer is going to think about it? What is going to be going on for them? What's their potential reason for wanting to buy from you? What do they care about? What's their potential problem? What's the hot button that's they're ready to be pressed? Get clear on what that is. Once you're clear on what that is, how to market becomes much easier. So we use the language that they're likely to understand. We create a message that tells them not only do we understand what your issue, your problem, or your desire is, we've got the solution to that as well. So you keep it really clear and simple. Don't make them think. Don't make them have to fill in the gaps themselves. Make it really easy for them to understand. If you think you've got a clear and compelling message, what I suggest that you do is check it with somebody else. Just say, what do you think? If you were just bimbling along minding your own business and you saw this message, how much of an impact would that have on you? What would it make you do? So the next tip is to educate people and share information. So this is kind of commonly known as content marketing. This can be used on social media, through blogs on your website, and using platforms like YouTube, LinkedIn as well are fantastic places to put your information. Now, sometimes people are a little bit afraid of giving away information because they worry that, if I just, if I educate people, then they're not going to need me anymore. Now, I would say that obviously you don't give away your very best information when you're educating, but you give away enough information that people know that you know what you're talking about, and you're able to help people to understand what you can actually do for them. Whereas if you don't educate them, then they may just think that there isn't an answer to their problem, or there is an answer but they can't afford it, or it's too difficult to get that help, or there's possibly all sorts of different barriers that may be in place that are going to prevent them from choosing to do business with you. So taking that opportunity wherever you can to educate, share information, so that builds your trust. It means people look forward to seeing posts from you, rather than your posts all being just advertising your business. You're sharing information which is going to be useful to people. They're going to be happy to see things from you. And as you can see, the image that I've got on this page, so social business. So I've got kind of two meanings behind that. So social in terms of being a social enterprise where you care about people as well as about profit. But also I'm thinking of this in terms of social media, because as I said earlier, people do business with people. So even if you don't actually get to meet them, it's kind of having that personal element to what you're doing, and to using those social platforms that are available, being helpful and supportive to people wherever you can. And then the last tip is to be visible often. So there was a time back in the past, I can't remember the exact dates, when Coca-Cola had the market share, and by quite a long way, and they decided that they didn't need to advertise anymore, so they stopped advertising for a period of time. And in that period of time, Pepsi became the market leaders. So even though everybody knew who Coca-Cola were, just the fact that they stopped being visible made people less interested in them and more interested in Pepsi. So I really encourage you with your marketing to just keep on people's radars. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to start paying for expensive adverts that show up all over the place. It can be as simple as going to networking events and going to them a few times and getting to know people. It can be commenting on things that people have put on LinkedIn. So if you've got target customers that you're following on LinkedIn and they post something, comment on it. The more that they see your name starting to pop up, the more they're going to wonder, well, this person keeps showing up. What are they about then? Let's see what they're up to. Let's see what their business is about. Also using any social media platforms that you have to keep popping up. So if you're looking to do business with like quite a large company and then they want to check you out and they go to your social media profiles and they see that you haven't really been very active, that could ring alarm bells for them. So making sure that you are being there, being visible, engaging with people often is really a really good way to keep marketing your good enterprise. And creating a following is kind of a combination of those things, really. So if you're visible and often, you can start to create a following of people who know who you are and what you're about, and they look forward to the next thing. There are some platforms in particular which can be used to do this. So some of you paying attention may already have or be members of Facebook groups. Maybe you've got a meetup page that you use to promote events that you run. If you're doing something of real value and you can create some kind of membership to it, it doesn't have to be anything that's necessarily expensive or time consuming, but if you can get that kind of level of engagement where people are looking forward to content from you, maybe you've got lots of tips and things that you can share on a YouTube channel, that you can get a following where people want to come and find out this next bit of information. So again, it's looking at what can you give people that they're going to want to keep turning up and hearing from you all the time. When you can get people in that frame of mind, then when you pop up going, hey, I've got this for sale, or hey, I want to do this service for you, or I've got this event coming up, they're going to be much more likely to engage with it if they're already a follower, they're already a fan of your business. And just very quickly looking at some upscaling and growth opportunities that can apply for business. I'm not going to stay on this one too long. So the first one we've got is organic growth. So that's where we're talking about growing to the capacity that's available for you. So that will be done through looking at your marketing activities, your sales processes, and making sure that you are engaging with all the opportunities that are available to you with the current capacity that you have, the resources that you have available to you. The next level for upscaling or growth is expansion. So that may be if you've got a shop, you open a second shop, or if you're delivering a service and there's only one of you, maybe you employ somebody else. So that's kind of what's meant by expansion. So sometimes people get to the point of their business where they're like, I just don't know where I can go from here. So looking at these opportunities is it's just kind of good to know what this process is, what the steps are. So going down the franchise model is an option that a lot of people like because it can generate quite a large kind of income at one point. But in order to be able to do that, you do have to be clearly showing that your business can run without you, that you've got documented systems and processes that work. And usually expansion provides you the opportunity to show that. So when you can show we've already done this is how it works, this person didn't need me on hand all the time, then you would look to possibly franchising it out. And the fourth way, and this is usually what happens when people get to the top of their game. So they have expanded their business as far as they could ever possibly want to. Although some people would do it before that stage, but what they decide to do just in a purely altruistic way is to share their good practices. Because they believe in doing things the right way, they decide to just give that information away so that other businesses can follow in their footsteps. Now, if you are the kind of business who's got to that stage and you look at doing that, but you feel a bit fearful, remember you've always got the opportunity to keep innovating. So you don't always have to give away your newest, your latest, your best thing. You just give away the bits that this works, and we're kind of moving on from that now. So here you go. Here's some information for you that's going to really help you. Meanwhile, we're moving on to these other areas. So finally, with all these bits of information in mind, and I know I'm kind of whizzing through this quite quickly, but obviously you can come back to different bits of this video as you go through. But just wanted to speak a little bit about creating an action plan and that can help you to achieve your vision. So your vision might be a 5 to 10 year vision where you've got a rough idea in mind of how you would like things to be in 5 to 10 years. I mean, I say rough, it might be something quite firm. It might be a really, you might have a set amount of income that you would like to be generating. You might have a number of staff in mind that you'd like, or it might just be something like, we want to be award winners, or we want to be the most recognizable brand name of our type in the area that we're in. It just kind of gives you a bit of a flavour of what this business is about for you. You can then come back from that and look at a shorter period of time, so maybe 1 to 3 years, and what your goals for that period may be. So this is maybe where you'd start to bring something a little bit more specific in. Once you've clarified that, you can then look at a 3-month period. So what would you want to happen across the next 3 months? So for those of you who've heard the rocks, pebbles and sand analogy, where your rocks are the most important things. The pebbles and sand are the things that will come up all the time and they always will get done. But your rocks are the things that you need to find the time for. So once you've established what your vision is, what your goals are, where do you want to be in 3 months from now? So what do you need to make sure that you are finding time for across the next 3 months? And make sure you put time in your diary for that. And finally, know what your hurdles are and how you will overcome them. So it's not a bad idea to actually keep a list of the different things that could crop up, or have a list so that you can jot things down when they do happen. And then once every couple of weeks, once a month or so, you can refer to your list and see what's on it. Is there anything that we need to address? Have any of these things sorted themselves out? Is there anything we need to bring in to prevent problems like this in the long term? And that's it. So I just want to just quickly finish off. Social businesses do well by being social. So as I said, I did co-present this when we did this presentation yesterday, and we actually did it at the Hive. So the Hive is a building which is full of local enterprises, and they like to work together. So that's one of the ways that you could benefit from working with them. Me personally, I'm the business coach, so I work with businesses as their coach or mentor. I help them by providing like an external input into what's going on, helping them to see the wood for the trees. Sometimes it's just about kicking people up the bum and keeping them moving forward in the direction that they want to go. But also I make sure that people have got that bit of external support if they need it. They've got someone to talk through ideas with, because, you know, let's face it, your family don't always want to talk through everything with you that's going on in your business. Or even if they did, you know, they might have some views that don't fit in with the way you want to do things. So your business coach is always going to be impartial and look to work with you in the way that you are planning to move. So thanks so much for watching this video. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. If you're interested in having a business review for your business, then also get in touch. So my name's Vicky Kelly. My business is Butterfly Effect Coaching. So you can find me online, butterflyeffectcoaching.co.uk. Thanks a lot.